Hey, Curtis, what are we watching this week?
This week we're watching a Universal Monster movie meets Cabaret meets the January 6th insurrection. This week's movie is Young Frankenstein.
Hey, welcome back, listeners. It's another episode of Let's Talk About Flicks, the weekly podcast where we talk about a movie that applies to a theme for the month. This month's theme is Mel Brooks movies. This is week number 3, and we are covering Young Frankenstein. Well, I'm one of your hosts, Oz.
And I am Curtis.
And we're going to dive right into this thing. So we're looking again, like you said, week 3 of Mel Brooks. The guy's hitting home runs every time he steps up to bat at this point. And this is another no-doubter. Like you said, we've got a unique blend of things here. And we'll, of course, dive deeper into this commentary as we go along. But I'm going to start with some characters, because you brought this movie to the table, so you're going to nail the plot. Character-wise, we've got actually a large cast of people, but a small cast of important characters. I've got down our lead, Frederick Frankenstein, played by Gene Wilder. He's the grandson of the Baron Victor Frankenstein of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein fame. He has a fiancée, Elizabeth. Not yet a fiancée, a girlfriend, Elizabeth, played by Madeline Kahn. That, again, seems to be on par with we don't get enough of.
That we will definitely circle back to that.
Yes. And so other characters, we have Inga, the lab assistant, played by Terry Garr, who looks just absolutely phenomenal in this movie. We have Igor, played by comedy mastermind Marty Feldman. He plays the Igor. He's the assistant with the hunchback and the bulging eyes and really I won't say our comic relief, but I feel that he's our for every comedy that has a straight man, this is a movie that doesn't have the straight man. He's our comedy man. He's our fourth wall breaker, and he's just funny all around. Peter Boyle plays the monster, and a few others. We've got the castle keep, Frau Blücher, played by Cloris Leachman, as well as the leader of the townspeople, Inspector Kemp, played brilliantly by Kenneth Mars. Curtis, you want to add anything to that?
I had one other character as well, Gene Hackman as the old blind man Harold.
Yeah, I touch on him, later and other details. But
more of a cameo, but to me, he's integral.
Yeah. Yes, Harold the blind man. So, all right, kick off the plot.
So, with Young Frankenstein, this movie, again, is made by 20th Century Fox. We open in black and white on the 20th Century Fox logo. Apparently, Mel Brooks had to fight pretty hard to get this shot in black and white, because it's supposed to resemble, the old 30s Universal monster movies.
Right.
And he had to kind of shop around the studios from studio to studio, and finally they acquiesced and let him shoot it the way that he wanted to shoot it, and good for them for trusting him.
Yes. I feel that happens a lot in Hollywood. Is you've got the higher ups that just they make all the decisions, but they rarely know what's best for what's being produced. So I'm glad that they trusted their gut on this one and gave him what he needed. Mm-hmm.
We open with a castle on a distant hill. I'm pretty sure it's a matte painting, but that matte painting shows up a lot in this movie. So you see the castle on the hill, the great score that plays throughout the whole movie. We get a nice little nod in the opening credits to a guy named Kenneth Strickfaden, who apparently provided props from the original Universal Frankenstein movies for use here on the set.
Yeah, the set looks great. I mean, we're looking at this movie, we're 40 years later, and he's done a very excellent job maintaining the usability and quality and condition of the set pieces, because they look great. They look great in the 30s and they look great in the 70s. So good job to him. I'm glad they found him, because if they could have recreated it, but I don't know if it would, it's just that extra cool story of, these are the actual props and set pieces that we used in Frankenstein.
It adds to the authenticity and just the feel that you get. You know, you really, you know, it's supposed to look and feel like a 30s monster movie, and it does.
It does.
So we get inside the castle, and there's a slow camera pan around a casket.
I even have in here that this coffin reveal feels like Spaceball 1.
It does, yeah. Mel Brooks takes his time getting around this casket, this coffin.
We're gonna pad our numbers here,
and we go up and we see that it is Baron von Frankenstein's casket, to which it quickly opens, and the decayed corpse is holding onto I think a box inside. And you see a couple hands emerge to try to take the box, and apparently the corpse has a pretty tight grip on it.
Pulls it back a couple of times.
He's not.
Well, I love I love the fact too, because that quick coffin opening and skeleton, like, you know, with them trying to play up a 30s monster movie, you know, that's the kind of scares that they would play up in a 30s monster movie. A skeleton reveal or something like that, that would terrify audiences. And of course, now it's a piece of comedy, so, you know, how far cinema's come in the last 40 years. But it is cool to see Brooks, you know, stick to, you know, what worked then in his homage to those movies. So, you know, just a funny skeleton reveal.
Yeah. And it's also a good kind of precursor as to what's to come. You know, this corpse, the Frankenstein corpse, this family literally cannot let go of the past, and literally cannot let go of their lineage and their purpose. So for those thinking viewers out there, yeah, you could put two and two together there.
Yeah.
We then cut to the man who apparently took the box, observing Frederick von Frankenstein's lecture in the States on brain anatomy and neurology. So he's Fronken-steen is up teaching, and a kind of an annoying young student asks a question.
Yeah. He's just a brat.
Yeah, he's just kind of calling him out on his family history and whatnot, and that's when you first see Frederick say, yeah, it's Fronken-steen.
Right. But he's got, even then, he's got that kind of mad scientist look in his eye whenever he references his lineage. And I don't think, I can't imagine anybody else playing this role other than Gene Wilder.
Now, Gene Wilder just leans into it so great.
Yes.
Yeah, which we will definitely continue to bring up here.
Yes, for sure.
The students' dialogue provides enough little exposition just to kind of give, well, didn't your grandfather rob graves? Didn't your grandfather try to transfer dead parts into you know, living tissue? To which Fronken-steen just kind of sidesteps it. Clearly, he's put off by these questions, but you know, he's the teacher of the class, so he's got to move on. Rings a little bell. He's going to do a little neurology demonstration here on the difference between reflexive and voluntary impulses. They wheel in an elderly man played by, I believe, the same actor who was Reverend Johnson in Blazing Saddles.
Oh, yeah, I could see that.
Yep.
It'd been twice this year that he worked with him.
Yeah, 1974, the year of Mel Brooks. Started the year with Blazing Saddles, ended it with Young Frankenstein. There's a nice
little... Go ahead.
There's a nice little series of gags here with he asks the old man to hop off the off the gurney, and he takes a sweet time. You know, nice hopping.
It's these little throwaway lines.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, and that's such a change for what we've seen in the last 2 weeks, but it's a welcome change. Again, it just shows the mastery of comedy that Mel Brooks has, as well as the actors surrounding him. But it's just this, it's not a belly shaking guffaw type of laughter. It's just the kind of, you know, you harumph under your breath about, you know, it's like, oh, that was kind of funny. And it just back to the plot. So, you know, a lot of different style of humor for this one, but it is still just as effective and funny.
Yeah, a lot of chuckles, you know, as opposed to, you know, a dozen cowboys farting around a fire. Like we get in Blazing Saddles, or a man getting shot in the groin by the Schwartz from Spaceballs.
Right.
Dr. Fronken-steen asks the old man, to raise his leg, which he does, demonstrating, voluntary impulses. The man chose to raise his leg. He heard it and he did it. They then demonstrate the involuntary.
Right.
As the doctor comes up and pretends to knee him in the groin and just yells at him out of nowhere. You filthy, rotten, yellow SOB!
Such a professional way to handle your patients.
Yep. At which the old man reflexively covers his groin, as one would. And I love how the camera just kind of lingers on the old man for a moment. Just kind of like, what just happened there?
Yeah.
What did I sign up for?
Exactly. What did I get myself into?
Mm-hmm. So yes, there's involuntary reflexes. That impulse went to the lower brain stem, which then picked up on the danger, and yes, the body just reacted without having to think about it.
Right.
Frankenstein then demonstrates how this can be cut off. He puts a clamp on the back of the old man's head to cut off the impulses from the brain.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
We're just gonna
put a clamp.
Pinch off. We're just gonna pinch your nerves, and you're good to go.
He yells at the old man again, and also pretends to knee him. But this elderly man does not respond because that part of the brainstem has been clamped off for the moment.
Science.
Yes. Ethical and professional.
Yes, science.
So ta-da, that's how voluntary and involuntary impulses work.
Yeah.
Oz, you got anything else on that little sequence?
And just, and not just that, you nailed that sequence perfectly. I mean, because, once they take the clamp off, then all of that pain rushes back through where it should. And the old man's whimpering as they wheel him off in the gurney. But it's, it's an intro here because Frankenstein's entire lecture to these medical students or medical professionals or whoever they are, it basically centers around, that dead is dead. And, that, yes, you're trying to bring up what my grandfather's work, but he was wrong. He was insane.
It's doo-doo.
Right.
He calls it at one point. My grandfather's work is doo-doo.
But it's just dead is dead, and I'm a man of science, and, almost like if he could change his name, he'd be happy to. Yeah. And so, class dismissed, and we saw a man sneak into the back of the lecture hall earlier, and it turns out that the man that snuck into the lecture hall was the same man who took the box from, Baron Frankenstein's skeleton.
Yes.
And so he comes up to Frederick Frankenstein, to basically let him know, hey, this is from your grandfather, and it's all this information. Was it the will?
Yeah, it was the will. He left him the castle and this land.
Yeah. So he's left him the castle that Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, created the monster, et cetera, et cetera. So we live in that. We quickly establish we are in the same universe as Mary Shelley's novel.
And I don't think we ever get an exact timestamp, but it's supposed to be early 20th century, so like 1900s, somewhere in the very, very early 1900s. There was no timestamp,
but yes, very early. Everything's still, kind of horse and buggy kind of thing. Cobblestone streets and so you've inherited this castle. It's yours, and so. Cut to, we've got, he's got to go to the train. So we got, Fronken-steen at the train where we meet Elizabeth.
We meet Elizabeth, played by Madeline Kahn.
Right.
Wearing a gigantic black fur coat.
Yes.
So she's a socialite, is basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's like the Kardashian of her time.
Yes. And so, Frederick is going to hop on a train to go to Transylvania because I've got a castle, I've got a house, I got to go check it out.
He's going to hop on a train from America to Transylvania.
Yeah, Transylvania, and so they're just together at this point. Well, she decides, I'm going to give myself to you. I'm yours. I'm all yours, Frederick. We're fiancés now. We're gonna get, I'm all yours. And so it's news to his ears, music to his ears. He can't wait.
Oh, he's loving it. He's all for it. Yeah.
You could tell, and we find out that she is the queen of passive aggressive, hard to get.
Yeah. Very, very prissy.
Right.
Very high maintenance.
Right. Extremely high maintenance. So before he goes, he wants to lean in for a kiss, but nope, I've got makeup on.
I'm going to this party later.
Right, yeah, I've got places to go. Don't touch my hair. Don't touch my outfit. Just
the nails.
They end up just bash brothering it before he gets on the train.
Yeah, so the
knock elbows.
I will say it was they kind of predicted the elbow bump that has now become the thing here. Is we're still mid pandemic at the time of this recording,
and so. But yeah, they give each other a McGuire and Canseco Bash Brothers send off, and he hops on a train to Transylvania from America.
she gets a face full of smoke from the train as it leaves.
That's right.
Just a little
black.
Yeah, just a little not nonsense humor, but it's
It's it. Train peels off, fades to black, and she's left coughing in the darkness.
Yeah. So apparently he's on the train for a long time because it starts with the train conductor and a couple of people, an elderly couple on the train are speaking in English, and then it cuts to him still on the train.
Right.
The same actors and playing the elderly couple and the conductor are now
the exact same conversation.
And I think German or Romanian or something. Yeah,
right. Something.
So he took the train from America to Transylvania.
Yep.
We then are treated to a wonderful scene here. So he's off the train. The train pulls away. They really do a great job of establishing that old school Universal setting. It's foggy. It's night. He's the only one there. Everything's just kind of wet and slippery looking, and
even the lighting. I watched that stuff from my old photography days of how they light, and a lot of lighting back then was really harsh. A lot of high light, so hard shadows. I did a photo shoot several years ago that the prom theme was like the Great Gatsby's 20s or whatever. And so we did a series of photos that way for promotional. And it's just a completely different style of lighting than we use now, but you see it a lot in your silver screen headshots from back in the day, a lot of real hard lighting and whatnot. And so that's been prominent throughout all this as well, which has been great. So yeah, pulling up to the train station in Transylvania, it's just eerie. Everything about it is just eerie.
We then hear some kind of dragging noise and footsteps, and Fronken-steen is terrified. He's there alone in this land he's never been in before. It's night. It's foggy. He can't see anything. The camera pushes into his face, very 30s Universal-esque. Dr. Frankenstein, followed by a loud lightning thunder, and the camera pans down. And we are introduced to Igor, played by Marty Feldman.
Marty Feldman. Oh, he's so great. He's so great in this role. Complete with even freeze frame. They freeze frame on Marty Feldman, so he doesn't have to stand still. But dun dun dun, it's just really hitting home. And so we meet Igor.
So Frederick introduces himself as Fronken-steen, to which Igor responds, and he looks so disgusted, just disgusted. Right. You're putting me on. You also say
you pronounce it.
You also say Frederick. You must be Igor. No, it's pronounced Igor.
It's very like Abbott and Costello-esque.
Yes.
This back and forth between them, and it's great.
Just this nonsense repartee that they exchange.
Right.
And they complement each other so well.
Yeah. They definitely are a team here. So, let's. I love the bit too where Frederick's bags are sitting there, and there's got a big bag and a small bag. And so they're gonna. He's there to take him back to the castle.
Yes.
Igor is. And so Igor's like, let me grab your bags. And he sizes up the big one and grabs the small one anyway.
Frederick at one point accidentally touches Igor's hump because he has a big hump on his back. And you hear a hollow sound. Just great little physical humor. Again, they don't linger on it. It's just like, it's just a quick throwaway.
if you don't catch any of these jokes, this movie is still great. But if you catch them when they're there, it really enhances the experience.
We are treated to a fun little sequence that I've dubbed in my notes as "Walk This Way."
I've got it in my notes. It's the same.
Yep. So Igor is using a cane, and he goes down the stairs very slowly. Walk this way, as opposed to this direction, or literally this way.
Reaches back to hand him a real short cane, walking stick, as Frederick then takes the first couple of steps walking the same way Igor did before he realizes how ridiculous this is, and just stands up and walks naturally.
Aerosmith's song "Walk This Way" was taken directly from this scene. I didn't know that until I kind of put on my research cap.
I was wondering if you were going to go there, because if you weren't, I was going to. But yeah, I saw that as well. They took a break from recording an album to go watch this movie.
Yes.
And then were inspired by this joke and went back and wrote "Walk This Way."
my affinity for Aerosmith has gone up. I always thought Aerosmith was an incredibly overrated band, but knowing that they like Mel Brooks, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
Now they're just rated.
Yeah, they've made it to rated status. Not over or under. They're just rated.
Right. You're just a rated band.
Yes. So they make it to the carriage, hay wagon, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And we're still horse-drawn. Turn of the century here. And they throw the suitcase into the back, and you hear a woman go, "Woof!" To which we're introduced to Inga.
Yeah. The lab assistant.
Played by Terry Garr.
Yeah. Would you like to go for a roll in the hay?
It's fun.
Which, of course, the camera is kind of overhead from Frederick's angle, and she's splayed out on the hay, and just got kind of a low, not like provocative, but a
low enough
dress on,
low enough to get your attention.
And her hair's flowed out. I mean, she looks great, and she looks very inviting. So for her first words to be, "Would you like to go for a roll in the hay?" Of course, the last woman he just talked to was his distant fiance that won't even give him a kiss. So this is a nice transition to where I'm sure the temptation is right there before she then immediately just starts rolling back and forth in the hay.
She invites him for a literal roll in the hay, or roll in the hay.
The hay.
So they get going. I noticed, I don't know if you picked up on this or not, Igor is really cracking that whip. He's just whoosh, whoosh. Like Marty Feldman is really into it. He is really cracking that whip.
Yeah, he missed out a spot. He could have been one of Lyle's henchmen in Blazing Saddles earlier this year with his whip cracking ability.
The whip master. So they're traveling to the castle. We hear thunderclap, and Inga kind of nestles up next to Frederick. I get an early indication of what's to come between the two of them.
What's to come? Yeah. And get another great joke here.
We hear a wolf howl.
Yeah.
To which Inga says, "Werewolf."
Werewolf.
To which Igor must have just heard it wrong. It's I'm sure the horse-drawn carriage is a little loud, and their wolf. And he points ahead, their castle.
Well, why are you talking like that?
I thought that's what you wanted to. Suit yourself. I'm easy.
just another, just love the throwaway jokes.
Uh-huh.
They don't add, they don't subtract. They're just humorous.
They're just there.
Yeah. They pull up to the castle again, and Igor gets out and walks up to the door, and there's these gigantic rings.
Yeah, like hula hoops.
Right. And so he starts pounding on the door as Frederick is helping Inga out of the cart, and he's got her waist at about his chest level. So her chest is eye level.
Right in his face.
He's not looking, so he's watching Igor, knock on the door, in which he reacts with a, "What knockers?"
Oh, thank you. I remember watching that movie as a kid, and that joke it just tickled my funny bone so much.
I was just thinking, I would love to just sit and watch this movie with your dad. just to listen to him laugh at all of these jokes, because it's like this movie was made for your dad.
Yeah, he was the target audience.
Absolutely. So who opens the castle door?
Well, Cloris Leachman playing
Cloris Leachman.
Cloris Leachman, God bless her soul, Cloris Leachman plays Frau Blücher.
complete with horse whinnies.
Yes. So the gag.
I'll see if I can't. I might try and drop some in every time we mention her name. I'll drop them in the soundtrack.
Drop in a horse whinny. Blücher. So for reasons that are never fully explained, every time that her name is said aloud, the horse is whinny. And it doesn't matter where she is or how close or distant the horses are.
Right. You mention her name, you're going to hear horse whinnies.
You'll hear horse whinnies because they have that reaction. And the first time you see, they cut to the horses, and they're rearing up on their hind legs. They're terrified. Something spooked them.
Cloris Leachman.
And as Igor is bringing up the rear going into the castle, and he's about inside, he pokes his head back out, and he just goes, he kind of looks near the camera, Blücher.
Right.
And then they win.
It's our first fourth wall break.
Yeah.
Especially by the Igor character, because he's constantly breaking. Well, not constantly, but he's doing it repetitively enough that you notice that it's great.
Yeah.
Every time.
So we get introduced to her a little bit more, the inside of the castle. She takes them upstairs, and she shows them to their rooms. And she has Frederick stay in his grandfather's room. So there's a big portrait.
A lot of books.
Yeah, portrait looks just like Victor and Frederick look the same. Yeah, a lot of books. Frederick's like, this is kind of a general library. There's got to be more to it. And she's just like, this is all I know of.
Yeah, this is it. Bless you.
Thank you. Blücher. So they kind of say their goodnights. She's struggling with Fronken-steen.
Yeah.
She's not accepting it.
Right.
Even more than the other characters. She's not buying it
right.
at all.
Yeah, she's very resistant to this.
Yeah.
Like he's a Frankenstein, and he needs to just own it.
Yeah. She offers him various drinks before going to bed, including Ovaltine.
For milk? Ovaltine?
Ovaltine. And as she goes to leave, and Frederick he's kind of unpacking his things and getting settled in, and he looks in a mirror that she pauses by the portrait and gives the portrait a kiss and says goodnight. Yeah. So what is that supposed to mean? I wonder if we're going to come back to that.
I wonder.
Well, as we then cut to a scene of him sleeping.
Yes.
And he's clearly having some kind of nightmare, Oz.
Yeah, he's having a nightmare. I don't even remember did it show what the nightmare is about, or just him reacting?
It's just his reactions.
So okay. So he's having a nightmare.
I'm not a Frankenstein.
Right. And so Ingo awakens him, and then together they hear this melody that we hear a lot throughout the rest of the movie. But it's a violin music that's being played. It's beautiful and it's hypnotic, and so they've got to find the destination of that music. The acoustics in this castle are amazing, by the way.
Sound reverb everywhere.
Yes, and so they're investigating, trying to find. Well, they've gotten almost to a dead end in a room where they're looking for. He feels there's got to be a secret entrance.
There's got to be something here. The music's louder over here.
So he grabs a book, and of course the book's not it. And he's looking on one end of the bookcases. Inga takes the candle off the candle holder, and the bookshelf flips around. So we're if this were a Indiana Jones movie or a National Treasure movie, then they would just move on with their journey. But this is a Mel Brooks film, so we've got to pause.
we're going to take a moment and have fun with this. Yeah,
we're going to play this up. So he's on the other side of the bookshelf. She's looking at the back of the bookshelf. He's on the other side, put the candle back. And so she puts it back, and it flips him 100 or 360 degrees.
It goes all the way around.
The other way. So his plan now is put the candle back.
I'm going to block it with my body.
Yeah, and I will block it so he gets smashed into it. And, and then it's just this just literal go-around, but it's this comedic go-around where, he finally gets himself out. But at the same time, Inga gets flipped on the inside. So the scene ends with her, put the candle back.
So they finally get it open. And they're about to proceed. There's a little throwaway line here that I find hysterical. Frederick says to Inga, "Now close your robe and follow me." Which she proceeds to like tie her cleavage up in the front of her robe.
I missed that. Yeah. I got the line, but I didn't.
It's just a little tiny line. She looks down and she just kind of like tightens her nightie in the front. So it's clearly, again, he's noticing things.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
But they have a mission right now. He can't be distracted by that.
No. We've got to find the music.
So they're following the music. They have a different candle in hand just for a little bit of light, and they find a door that opens with a great old school creak sound because you can't.
I love it first because we get there and there's, we see a close-up of the door handle and his hand going for the door handle, but it's so old that it just crumbles. And so he's got to throw his body weight. But you're right, it's got just the excellent long creak of a castle doorway.
We see a series of skulls on a shelf indicating how long. So 3 years dead, 2 years dead, 6 months freshly dead, and it's Igor.
It's Igor smiling at him,
and he breaks into song. Igor says, "Well, I heard the music too. I got down through the dumbwaiter." He says, call it a hunch, and he points to his hump.
As he's looking at it's just another, just a break. I think he even gives his own little,
Yeah. So they go into another room, and it's the lab. It's his grandfather's lab. All the equipment
in his personal library, and
it's all there. They come across the violin. And Igor picks it up. It's still warm. It's still warm.
Somebody had just had enough time to put out their cigar.
Yep. And
they
find the book.
They find a book called
How I Did It by Victor Frankenstein.
Not by O.J. Simpson.
No.
But by Victor Frankenstein. How I Did It. Instead, I love because then it kind of fades away to. We see Inga fighting sleep, Igor fighting sleep. Yeah. Apparently, Frederick's just been reading this book to them.
Yeah,
he's just reading the book How I Did It aloud. He's reading to himself, but he's just the punishment they're enduring of having to sit through all of this as well. He's just reading it aloud to him.
Well, and he's reading it exuberantly. He is pumped. Yes. He is psyched. He is energized, and he is into this.
Yes, and his mind has been changed. His previous lecture earlier on dead is dead. There's no way to reanimate dead tissue, dead muscle. It's dead. And now that he's read grandfather's book, he's on board.
It could work.
He's a Frankenstein.
It could work.
We know that he's on board because they cut to the painting, and the painting is smiling now.
Yeah, he literally has a different smile on his face. The next morning, we see our three leads, Frederick, Inga, and Igor, eating breakfast. Mm-hmm. And they're talking about how, for this to work, you would need a person of gigantic stature. It's the only way that this would work. You just have the nervous system. He has to be able to, whatever.
Right.
Inga says he would then have an enormous Schwanzstücke.
Right. Which, for those that are paying attention, it's the same thing as a Schnitzengruben.
Yes. And they are eating big sausages as well.
They're eating big sausages again.
So Frederick, well, that goes without saying. Inga they cut back to her and she just goes, woof. Igor, who's drawing, you don't know what he's doing. Yes. Igor just kind of puts his drawing down for, he's going to be very popular.
just subtle innuendo all throughout.
Yeah. It turns out Igor has been drawing a picture just kind of based on this description they've been talking about.
Right.
And it's a very large man.
Yes, it looks exactly like Peter Boyle as a monster.
And we get a nice little cut scene here because this drawing, he kind of hangs on a hook and he lets go and the drawing kind of sways from side to side. We then cut to a man who has just been hung swaying side to side. Hood over his face.
Hulking man.
Yes, a very large man of gigantic stature.
Yes. Yes.
The gravediggers are finishing. Camera pulls back. Frederick and Igor are watching through the gate. They're going to grave rob.
Yes, they are. Fresh grave.
Yep.
It'll be easy.
Just like his grandfather.
Because of the the status of the man being buried, they didn't even bother burying him that deep. They were just, that's good enough. That's good enough.
That's all this guy deserves. So they dig him out. They dig him out. They get him loaded onto a cart, and they're wheeling him down the cobblestone streets. And the music picks up, and they lose control of the cart.
Yes.
The casket falls off the cart and breaks open, and an arm emerges. And then Oz, what happens after the arm emerges?
The arm emerges, and as they're struggling to get the casket back onto the cart, a night watchman shows up.
A constable.
Constable. That's right. The constable shows up. He's inquiring. I know everybody. I don't know you. Who are you? And he reveals that it's all right. Well, he's playing the whole thing as he kind of hooks the arm so that the dead arm is Frankenstein's other arm. So there's this whole bit about he forces him to shake his hand, and it's, oh, you're ice cold. So he's warming his hands up, and it's just beautiful physical comedy that is just Gene Wilder just nails it.
And the painfully obvious, like he stomps twice to let Igor know to move the arm. So there's these breaks in the conversation. Well, stomp. Well, I'll be seeing you.
But it also just shows the relationship that Igor and Frederick have built already. That I mean, yes, this is played for comedy, but their mission is the same.
Yeah, they work well together, as did their grandfathers.
Yes, they did.
So they're able to get out of this sticky situation.
Yes. So we cut to the lab table. We've got the body, and it is just enormous.
Yes.
And of course, they play the camera angles well, also to make it look even bigger than it is. So you've got this monster of a man, and now he just needs a brain. And Frankenstein knows. I'm going to switch. Frankenstein.
Yes.
He's now Frankenstein.
Yes.
Dr. Frankenstein knows exactly which brain that he wants, and so he sends Igor to go get it.
Hans Delbruck.
Yeah, he does notice before he leaves, though, that his hump is moved to the other side.
Yes, I noted that as well. To which Igor is just, what hump? So we cut to the brain depository. There's a nice little sign on the glass door.
Yeah,
after 5 p.m., slip brains through slotted door.
And there's just a little catch. Where there's room. It's not going to hit the floor.
Yeah, it's like a night deposit box at the bank.
Right.
So Igor breaks in, and he comes across a brain in a jar, like an old school, Universal 30s, a brain in a jar, and it's labeled Hans Delbruck, scientist and saint.
Yeah,
it's the perfect brain. The perfect brain.
The goal is to make a kind monster to make this work, and Igor, of course, can't get the job done.
No. He picks it up. There's a lightning flash. There happens to be a giant mirror there.
So he's like floor to ceiling mirror.
The lightning and seeing himself in the mirror. Ooh! He jumps and he drops the brain. Can't use Hans Delbruck's brain anymore.
No, it's literally been cut into pieces now. Yeah. Like the shattered glass, it's like a warm knife through butter. It just slices this brain up.
It's everywhere.
So he's got to get the next brain, which belongs to Abnormal.
And it says, "Do not use this brain." Oh, you don't get good throwaway comedy like this much these days.
No, you don't. And it's so easy.
Yeah.
you just make it juvenile and simple, and it's fun, but you just don't get it.
Yeah, it's not all humor has to be ironic or awkward.
Right.
Like, it's just
Exactly.
Just be funny. That's all you got to. Just funny jokes. It's again, don't overthink it.
It's just it's dad humor. So much of it is just your stereotypical dad humor.
Yeah.
And it's probably why you and I find it hilarious.
Case in point. So we're back at the lab. The corpse is now fully dressed on the table. The clamps are down, and we see the corpse's face for the first time, and it's Peter Boyle.
Yeah. He's just a monstrous man.
And they're getting set up to go here.
Yeah, Igor is up on the tower. He's flying kites, because that's how you generate electricity, is you fly kites. And so Dr. Frankenstein, calls for him to come down. Come on down, get down here. Which Igor makes it down just in rapid time. Like, he's right next to him now.
Yeah. Just simple editing tricks.
Yeah. you show Inga and Frankenstein looking up to start the scene, and so he's right there. But now he's got to take the body up to be electrocuted to try, because we're going to do this. We're going to bring him back. This is our time.
Yep.
And we're going to do it.
Igor says yes, master, for the first time, so they're all falling into their characters.
Yes, very much so.
This is when I start to think of Frankenstein as Frankenstein. Is this scene right here?
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
He's even quoting a lot of the same lines from the original, or very similar lines to. I mean, the speech pattern is less American doctor and definitely more Mary Shelley mad scientist.
Yeah. There's a little intimate moment between Inga and Frederick. Well, dear, are you ready? As he looks at her. So they're, again, deepening the relationship between them.
Yeah.
To which, again, they have to raise the platform.
Yes.
So
elevate
me. Really, right here?
Right here?
Yes. Raise the platform. Oh, the platform. Oh.
I think she's such an underrated. I mean, she was really funny in this movie.
Oh God, she's hilarious.
She nailed it, and I mean, she's a fine actress anyway. But it's like when we talk Cloris Leachman, like that's comedy there, And Terry Garr doesn't live in that same comedy universe as a Cloris Leachman or Madeline Kahn or something like that. But it's like she's just so good in this role, like just kind of relaxed.
And just kind of wide-eyed and naive, and
but she just plays it wonderfully.
Yeah, she's good at what she in the role. She's good at being a lab assistant, but she's just kind of just not always there in the uptake with certain things. Everything's an innuendo.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah, because just earlier in the day she was talking about Schwanzstukers.
Elevate me right here. And she's open to it because she's a devoted assistant.
Yeah.
Like, if this is what you want, then okay.
So Frankenstein starts monologuing. Tonight we ascended to the heavens. So he's full on Frankenstein at this point. From this point forward, in my notes, I think of him as Frankenstein. He's not Frankenstein anymore.
Right.
So they raise up the platform. We get some great lighting and shadows on the monster's face as this whole sequence is going on. Gene Wilder's hair is everywhere. His eyes are wide. He's
he's in full Big Ern McCracken mode here.
Big Ern McCracken.
For those Kingpin fans out there,
why don't you go in the back and rinse that off?
Supplemental income.
So they lower it back down. They lower the platform back down, and it's not there.
No, there's no life.
Yeah,
literally there's no life. He done the experiment exactly how it was written, and the monster, the creature, as he refers to him, the creature has not regained life.
Yep.
And
initially Frederick takes it well. I got a quote here.
Yeah, it was really well spoken.
If science teaches us anything, it teaches us to accept our successes and failures with quiet dignity and grace.
And then
You SOB, why'd you do this to me?
even starts walking away from the body. like, okay,
he rushes back to it and starts just pounding at it like a drum.
Right.
I don't want to live. To which Igor completely breaks the fourth wall, talks directly to the audience, quiet dignity and grace. Just throwing that line back at him.
Yeah, okay. So we cut to a village meeting.
Yes.
The villagers are now aware that there's a Frankenstein in the castle.
Oh, they are not happy about it, Oz.
No, they're discussing Frederick Frankenstein, and what are we going to do? Because we can't have a repeat of before, you know. And they mentioned that, you know, that they've been through this like 5 times, you know, in a reference to all of the sequels to the original Frankenstein movie that came out. So,
all 5.
So again, like all of this is now canon, supposedly. You know that, you know, we've done this before. So what are we going to do? Like, we've got to stop this. And so we meet
one of the townspeople, really quick, guys. There's a quote here before we meet the next character that I think kind of rings true today as well. One of the townspeople says, "Scientists, they're all alike. They say they're working for us, but all they really want to do is rule the world." Coming from this angry mob of people.
Which, very, very true. It does.
There's literal.
I don't agree with it, but it does certainly ring true for the way certain people think today.
Yes, there are literal pitchforks and torches, and they're decrying science.
Yes. Right. Yep. Science is just out to rule the world.
Yep.
Because science is man-made.
Yeah.
Apparently. And so in walks Inspector Kemp with his bionic right arm. And I don't even know if bionic's the right term.
I think it works.
Literally can.
I think it works.
But it can do nothing without input from his left arm. He's like a broken Inspector Gadget.
Yeah,
like,
that's a good analogy.
So he comes into the village meeting and he's going to take control. I will handle it. In such a thick German accent that even the townspeople of Transylvania don't understand what he's saying. A lot of clicking, a lot of spitting, like just very, very, very rich German accent.
Also, some fun little sight gags as well. He has an eye patch and a monocle.
That's what I was going.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, it's just that here and they quickly the villagers quickly kowtow to Inspector Kemp.
Yes.
Okay, because we need somebody to do this, and you're going to do this. And then as he's doing this, like you said, he's got an eye patch on his left eye, and then takes a monocle from the chain and puts it on top of the eye patch. So, and nobody comments, nobody notices. No. Of course, we notice, and we're like, this guy's an idiot. Like,
he might be slightly brighter than the townspeople, but that's not saying a whole lot.
Right, but monocles are the sign of intelligence, and he has a monocle. He just puts it over the eye that doesn't work. So he's got a bum left eye, a bum right arm, but he's gonna do this.
Basically, cyborg.
Right. I think it is cyborg. It's played by Ray Fisher.
Yeah.
And so he makes another appearance in the the DC comic universe as Cyborg, but he got to start here in Young Frankenstein.
It's his origin story,
right? And so this is where, like I said, we meet Inspector Kemp, and then we're back at the castle now. It's post experiment gone wrong. It's dinner time, and Igor and Inga, they're eating. They get it, and Frederick is just depressed, just sitting there sideways in his chair.
Yeah,
he won't even look at his food,
like a toddler. He's he's just pouting. He's pouting.
Right. And so Inga makes a comment of, Doctor, you haven't even touched your food.
He then mashes his hands into it.
Front and back.
There. I've touched it.
He's just throwing a temper tantrum. He's just so mad.
Yeah.
Which I love Igor's rant. It's Igor goes on this rant about,
It's about his father. It's about his father.
Yeah, what my father used to say to me.
Yeah.
Well, what's that? What are you spending so much time in the bathroom?
He's trying to relate to them, and it just doesn't land at all.
No, it's all masturbation jokes. And he's just so happy. He says it with a smile.
He clearly has helped calm the room and added some levity.
It just reminds me of what my dad used to say.
We then cut back to the lab, and the monster's hand moves. The monster's hand moves, and you hear a vocalization, just kind of a little murmur or like a little growl.
Right. So, cut back to dinner where Igor asks what the dessert is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what is this? Or Dr. Frankenstein tells him what it is. You know, some elaborate dessert that they're having, and then cue the monsters.
Oh, you like it? I thought you made a yummy sound.
No, I didn't.
Well, it wasn't you. It wasn't you.
So then they hightail back to the lab.
The word yummy is an underused word these days.
You made a yummy sound. No, I didn't. Oh, Marty Feldman.
So they rush back to the lab because they realize that it's not them. It's alive. We get the classic. Right. My eyes are watering too at this point. We get the classic Frankenstein. It's alive moment.
Right. And so they're going to talk some sense, and we're going to let the monster. Of course, at this point, you know, Dr. Frankenstein is not aware that the brain that's in his head is the wrong brain.
Yes, he still thinks it's Hans Dilbruck's brain.
Right.
The saint.
So we're going to
scientist and saint.
Right. So let's stand the monster up and let's get to know him. And so that's what they do. They take off his, I guess semicircle bindings.
Yeah, these like safety clamps.
Yeah, it's just these giant hinges that fall over top. And they let him up, and he comes to his feet, and and then Igor, has got a candle, or he lights a match, or something, introduces flame to the scenario. To which, the monster starts then just choking Dr. Frankenstein. He's mad. He's gone mad.
Yeah. He saw the fire and he's freaking out.
Yep. And so he starts choking, at which we get another fun comic moment of, got to get the sedative is what he wants him to do.
Yes, Inga has prepared a sedative.
Right. And so it's time to deliver the sedative to the monster, but the monster is choking him and he can't get the words out. So we play a game of 3 syllables.
Yeah, 3 words. First word.
Right.
Sounds like.
So they're playing through these charades as they're trying to guess the word. Igor's so proud when he guesses sedative. Give him the sedative. And, they finally they give the shot to the creature and subdue him, and and of course Dr. Frankenstein, who's now been choked for 30 straight seconds, is perfectly fine.
Yeah. Sedative. As he chastises Igor.
And he calls him over. Can I talk to you?
Have a seat.
And he he just sits
on the
straight
floor.
down on the floor.
No, in the chair. Oh, thank you.
And so, and in Igor's mind, he's done nothing wrong. Mm-hmm. And so, he inquires where he got the brain from. Whose brain is that? It's Abby Normal.
Abby something.
Abby something. And so, they find out he's got the wrong brain. Yep. So we've got to shackle the monster back up.
Mm-hmm.
Got to get the creature back under control. So then Inspector Kemp arrives.
Yeah, we hear a knock at the door.
Yes.
To which
I'll let you go.
To which Frederick says, we got to play it cool.
Right.
As his collar pops open.
It was like perfect comic timing, too.
We have to behave normally. Boing. So it cuts to Frederick and Kemp in probably like a study or something, like some kind of like game room or whatnot.
Yeah, playing darts.
Yes, playing darts. And Kemp is telling them about, the townspeople worry. That's the point of the scene. The townspeople are worried. I'm kind of here on behalf of them. You got to convince me that that nothing's awry. That everything is fine, everything is safe. And,
no monsters.
Yep. Frederick tells him not to worry. This is all preposterous. There's a fun little sequence between Frederick turns away and Kemp grabs all the darts. And it sneaks over and it puts them all right in the bullseye and then sneaks back.
Yeah. Smacks himself in the chest 5 times.
Yeah.
and then cut back to, now it's Dr. Frankenstein's turn to throw the darts.
Yeah.
So every time he's about to throw one, Kemp really hits whatever syllable he's on and basically startles him every time.
This is Transylvania.
He's throwing him out the window. He's throwing him out the window. They're hitting the wall.
It's a cat.
It's a cat.
You hear a rear from off screen.
So he's put Kemp at ease. It'll be okay. Kemp then leaves to get back into his car where all the tires are flat because
there's darts.
All the darts that have missed.
The driver has a dart in his hat.
Right, he's got one in his hat. And so off he goes. So in the meantime, Frau Blücher, she has set the monster free. She realizes what's going on. She sets the monster free. Dr. Frankenstein realizes that she's been the one putting all this in motion. The music with the violin, the cigar, it's all been Frau Blücher.
Leading him to his destiny.
Yes, it's your destiny. So, and so, we cut to the first scene with Frank, with the creature, outside on his own. And it's a very fitting homage to the original Frankenstein, where again this gentle giant of a monster comes across in the original, comes across a small girl by a pond or a lake as she's throwing flower petals or flower heads or something into the water to see if they float or not. And so she has him do it, and when he runs out of things to throw, he picks the girl up and throws her into the water. She drowns, and he's now a murderous killer. So he comes across a girl throwing things. She's throwing things into the well.
Into a well, yes. Yeah, she sit on the lip of a well.
Right, and so she's throwing things into the well. Of course, he looks right at the camera just to let us know what's going on. And,
after she's done with the petals, she goes, "Oh, what should we throw in now?"
Right, and now he's
kind of looking around to see if anybody sees and if anyone else heard.
Right. Cut to her parents in the house, who both think they've put her to bed, and so they're scrambling, trying to. Where is she? Where's our daughter?
They're boarding the place up because they're part of these townspeople, and so the monster's coming. We got to secure our house. We got to secure our family. And so
go ahead.
So we haven't checked upstairs. We go back to the monster and the little girl on her teeter-totter.
Right. She's just yelling at him.
Sit down!
She's such a snob. So he sits down, which catapults her, up through the air, and she goes flying through the window of her bedroom, right into her bed, and immediately into a deep sleep.
As her parents bust in moments after she lands.
Right, and she's landed. So, he saves her. He's not the monster. But it was a fun little watch. I found that a lot of the, these in the next scene as well, that they're fun because they tie into the original. Yeah. But that's the only reason they're there. Yeah. They're not plot devices.
They don't push the plot. It's just little silly throwaway references. Yeah.
Right. And so, and then the next scene, I'll let you take it.
The next scene, he stumbles across a cabin in the woods with an old blind man named Harold, played by, of all people, Gene Hackman.
A very fresh-faced young Gene Hackman.
Yes.
At this point, he had not done any comedy.
Yeah, and he's typically not known for comedy. But he accepted this role and it really made the most of it. So that's.
I think I'd read that he was tennis partners with Gene Wilder.
Yes, yeah, I did. I read that as well. You're right.
And that's what it kind of threw him this role just because he wanted to do something comedic,
something different.
He even did it for free. I'll just do it for free.
So he's in his cabin, his little hut, and he's praying, Lord, just bring me a visitor. I'm so lonely. I'm old, I'm blind. And monster walks in. Thank you, Lord. and he is glad that he has a visitor. He is so happy.
Yes.
He's ecstatic.
Very happy.
You must be the tallest one in your class. And the monster just kind of like, just kind of gives like a grunt.
Yeah.
Oh, you must be mute.
Right.
I'm the blind man and you're the mute. What a long friendship we will have.
Right. Oh, yes. Let me give you some soup.
Go ahead.
Right. So there's a series of just like pratfall jokes here of, he's going to give the monster some soup, and the creature's very open to having the soup, and there's this fun back and forth at the bowl because the blind man's trying to serve piping hot soup. Spills 2 ladlefuls into his lap.
Apparently doesn't hear or doesn't notice the monster.
So then he offers him a mug of wine. So he pours him a mug of wine, and then not knowing how close he is when they go to toast each other, he just smashes his ceramic mug with his wooden mug, and it just crushes it. Wine spills everywhere.
The monster rolls his eyes.
Right, just looks at the camera and rolls his eyes. So then he offers him a cigar, and tells him, this is how you do it. And so that inadvertently lights his thumb on fire because he confuses it for the cigar.
Another reason not to trust fire.
But you can't blame the creature because again he's got an abnormal brain. He's not intelligent, so he doesn't know better than to avoid any of this stuff. Mm-hmm. So it was it was an awful experience for him, and so he just storms out. He just storms out of the little hut and off he goes.
And as he's leaving, Harold yells, "Wait, I was going to make espresso."
Which is just genius.
So
wait,
yeah, we cut to the monster lumbering through the streets. So he's back in town. He's on the cobblestone streets, and you see a man in a hat with a beard playing a violin, and he's playing the same theme that we heard earlier in the movie.
Yes.
We heard Blücher playing it when she was trying to calm the monster down right after she broke him out. And the monster's just taken by it. He's hypnotized in a way. And it's Frederick and
Dr. Frankenstein
and Inga and Igor. They drop a net on him. They sedate him. He falls on Igor. They take him. And they take him back to the castle. Yep. And they lock him in a room. So at this point, the 3 of them plus Blücher are all outside of this door, and they're trying to come up with like what do we do? And Frederick's like, I'm going to go in. I'm going to go in. Doesn't matter what you hear, what I say, you leave that door locked.
Under no circumstance will you open this door.
Yes. So he goes in, and they close and lock the door. And he makes a noise, and the monster wakes up. And I love the like he gets up and kind of like rushes right into the camera.
Oh yeah. It's just the look of urgency on his face too. Yeah. It's like, oh, get me out of here.
He runs back. Don't you know a joke when you hear one? Open this door, I'll kick your rotten heads in. He starts threatening them. He yells for his mommy.
So then he proceeds to win the monster over with flattery.
Yes.
He just said compliment after compliment after compliment. And it does. It appeases the monster. The creature is calmed down. To where we can do this. Let me train you how to do this. We can work together. And so realizes that just being nice to him is going to really pay dividends. Cut to.
Cut to. I'm laughing just because of when he first turns around, he goes, "Hello, handsome," and the monster kind of looks around like there's someone else in the room. Like who? Like who? Me?
Right. He just outsmarts him with compliments.
Yes. So he convinces him, it's people will love you, and then he finally at this point he says, "My name is Frankenstein." So he acknowledges that he is a Frankenstein, not a Fronken-steen.
Right.
So cut to a packed house at a theater.
Right. I'm just, it blows my mind how they got from where they were to where they are.
Yes.
Like, how much longer, how much later is it? But either way, it's comical because it's like, okay, everybody's here. We're gonna watch.
We're at a theater.
We're gonna watch this. We're gonna watch this performance.
So there's a full house, and there's a security detail there, led by Inspector Kemp. So he's in the back with like a dozen other like police officers, and it's a crowd of scientists and doctors, supposedly.
Yeah, and they're all dressed like socialites.
Yes. Yeah.
Like they're dressed like they're at the theater.
Yes.
Because they are literally, but they're dressed like a night on the town.
So Frederick comes out and says he's presenting the gateway to immortality, to which the crowd scoffs at him. They're like, yeah, whatever.
Right. Sure.
Yeah.
We've heard this before.
And they're aware of who he is and what the family's reputation is. So the curtain opens and the creature lumbers out. And the people panic.
Oh yeah, this is a King Kong reveal type reaction.
Yes.
I really felt this scene was more like I just mentioned, more King Kong than it was Frankenstein.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure.
And the people panic. Frederick implores them, like, we are scientists, not children.
Right.
And he gets them to calm back down. They go through another neurological demonstration by having the monster walk forward and backwards at one point.
Right.
Frederick gives
heel toe.
Yeah, Frederick gives him a treat.
Like, pops one in his mouth.
Like they're at the Westminster Dog Show.
Right.
Inga is backstage, watching from backstage. She's in this like sparkly dress. She's having a great time cheering him on. To which Frederick then addresses the crowd. Now may I introduce a cultured, sophisticated man about town. And the lights go dark for a moment and come back on, and they're both in tuxedos.
Right, yeah, top hats and
canes,
tails and everything.
And
they look great.
Oz, what happens next?
They start singing, or Frederick starts singing, "Putting on the Ritz." Starts tapping it out as, and at this point the creature's just standing there. And once he gets to the first, titular reference to the song, "Putting on the Ritz," Q2, that's the creature's job. Put on the Ritz. And then they just continue, and as the song goes along, it gets more and more animated.
Looks like Gary Cooper. Cooper Dooper.
But I mean, it's just they end up doing a duet choreography routine, and there's tapping.
Oh, it's great!
I mean, it's
great, and they're doing so well. They've got the crowd, just hanging off their performance.
Right. And then a light pops on stage, creating just a small flame, not even a fire, just enough to throw the creature off.
Yeah.
And there he went. He's back at it. Just destruction. It takes like the whole security detail to contain him.
Frederick tries to continue the performance, and the monster's just not having it. He tosses him aside.
Yeah.
And the townspeople and these constables make off with the monster. They got him raised up over their heads.
Yep, and off they go. It's crowd surfing.
Yeah, and they cut to the prison. The monster is in a prison. He's got a huge like ring around his neck with chains attached to it.
Yes, yeah, every which way. Yeah. It's very like they chained up Mongo and Blazing Saddles. Just we've got to contain the beast. Mm-hmm.
Townspeople are mocking him through the window.
Yeah, we're back at the castle, too. Frederick is just distraught. I just couldn't figure out what went wrong.
Inga wishes there was some way she could relieve his tension.
Anything. She's got her chest pressed up to his face already, just to console him, not to be, forward, but I just wish there was something I could do.
She starts kissing him, and he's kind of like, okay.
Yep. All right, I can think of something.
Cut to Blücher entering the lab, asking for the doctor. The lab table then lowers. It was elevated. The lab table was elevated. and it lowers, and there is now a bed on there, which Frederick and Inga are both in, and smoking.
Yeah, having a cigarette.
Yeah.
So, and you know what that means in the movies. Two people under the same sheet smoking a cigarette.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Schnitzengruben.
Schwanstuker. I thought I told you to never interrupt me while I'm working. As he chastises Blücher.
And so she lets him know that Elizabeth has arrived.
Yep. Yeah, she'll be there soon. Just gotta just got a telegram.
Yep, she's on her way.
So we cut to a car arriving at the castle, and Elizabeth is there.
Oh, Madeline Kahn.
Yep.
I mean, this whole scene is Madeline Kahn and Marty Feldman.
Yeah.
Like this whole right here. And so, Frankenstein meets her at the car. He just goes through this song, just this routine. He loves her so much. He misses her. I mean, just gives her, 4 or 5 lines or whatever. Very heartfelt, very romantic or whatever. And then as he goes around the car, Marty Feldman steps up and drops the exact same series of lines on her. And she's looking at him with just utter disgust.
Yeah. Say nothing, act casual.
Because he's thinking he's won her over. Yeah. I got this.
Yeah. I love how they exit the shot. Not the whole scene, but they walk out of the shot, and he's doing the thing with his eyebrows.
So then Frederick says, "Igor, help me with the bags."
Certainly.
Oh, you take the blonde one.
I'll take the one at the toy bin.
And he bites at her fur, she's got a fox fur or whatever. He bites at that.
And she just smacks him on the head with her handbag. Oh, the ladies walk in, and Igor says to Frederick, "It's gonna be a long night. If you need any help with the girls," and Frederick just kind of get in there,
Oh, he's just quite the wingman, that one.
in the worst ways.
Yeah.
Igor would be the worst wingman ever.
Oh, he'd be awful. But you know what? He also would be the one that I would want to just hang out with the whole rest of the night.
Yeah.
just cut it up with.
Yeah. So we're back at the jail now, and the jailer is taunting the monster, and you kind of see where this is going.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just simple-minded, very cruel. Again, just kind of a representative of the town, because these townspeople are very naive, very cruel, kind of like in Blazing Saddles. They only know...
Yeah, it's Rock Ridge.
Yeah, they only know what they've known.
Right.
And they're terrified by anything that's different or threatening.
Well, and we've also seen the doctor win the monster over with compliments. And so we know he could be calmed down with niceties, and of course, which then amplifies even more when this jailer's going the exact opposite direction and just being cruel and mean and vicious, and it's just gets to the point where the monster just breaks his chains and escapes again. I'm out of here. And the villagers, they get all rebel-roused up, and they're going to go kill the monster.
I love Kemp's line as these people are outside the police station. "A riot is an ugly thing. I think it's just about time we had one."
Right, yeah.
He's supposed to be like the calm and the level-headedness, and he literally calls for a riot.
Let's do it.
So they got their pitchforks and torches, and they're off. They're on their way to the castle.
Right. And, so Frankenstein is with Elizabeth. You could tell he doesn't want to be, but he still loves her. And so he's playing it up, he's all depressed, and she's still playing hard to get, at one point she even sits back, "Well, would you take me like this?" And he just dives right in.
Yes!
As a matter of fact, I would. And oh no, we're so close to being married. Just wait. And so he leaves, and she's left. She's left in her room singing "Battle Hymn of the Republic."
And she's brushing her hair, and she's singing it as she's brushing it. just this dumb scene of her just singing that song.
And the monster arrives.
Yep, we get a classic Universal moment.
Yes, very much
or
so.
He's in the window, the camera pushes into the full moon that's kind of over his shoulder, and you just hear this terrified shriek by Elizabeth.
Right. Yep, he snatches her up and takes off to the woods.
we get a quick little cutaway before the next log scene of the townspeople, like making their way to the castle, and it's like a 10-second thing. And there's a townsman who's walking along, and he literally just walks into a tree. And you hear a thud sound. There's no point, no relevancy.
No,
it's just,
he just shakes it off and walks around
keeps
it.
Going. The townspeople aren't too bright. That's the point.
No. So, like the creature's stolen Elizabeth away. She wakes up in a cave, and she's laying on the ground. She's got some white streaks in her hair. It's just love the homage. So you kind of see this Bride of Frankenstein's hair streaks going on, and of course, up to this point, like we're led to believe she's been with nobody. Mm-hmm. She's been playing hard to get, very. Just wait till our wedding night. And so the monster, he takes her. Yeah. And woof.
And so she wakes up. He's kind of slowly undressing, and she starts trying to bribe him. Like, I'll offer you money. I have to be back by 11:30. I'm expecting an important call. And then she realizes what's going on. She goes, "You can't be serious." And then her eyes pan down, or her eyes look down.
Oh, that's right.
Her eyes look down, and they get really wide. Oh my God! Woof! Kind of the same woof that Inga made before in reference to the enormous Schwanzstücker that the giant creature must have.
Right.
So the callback to that.
Yeah. Wake up the next morning, and again, this is like Lily von Shtupp all over again. She wakes up the next morning and she's in love. Yep. She calls him Zipper Neck. Yeah,
that's right. Oh, you're incorrigible.
Right. She's in love. Like and it's great though. She's just trying to get him to stay there, and she wants to go again. Yep. Let's do this.
Seven's my lucky number.
And then we hear violin music.
Yes, the same theme that we heard earlier. The same music that also calmed the monster earlier.
Yeah, is now calling him.
Yes.
And so we see Dr. Frankenstein on top of the tower playing the violin into a gigantic speaker. Mm-hmm. It's blasting this violin music out. So it's traveling far and wide to call for the monster, and it works. Yep. The creature arrives back. He stomps his way back, and he climbs the wall of the castle to get up to where they are. And they're going to like Inga and Igor go to help him at one point, and just very fatherly. Mm-hmm. He yells at him to leave him alone. He wants to do it himself.
Yep. Let him do it.
Right, let him do it himself. So he's got a plan that the doctor is going to have Inga and Igor perform a transference experiment with the monster to share, whatever. We're going to save the monster by sacrificing myself.
Yes. So kind of hybrid their nervous systems in a way, kind of splice them together.
Right. Yep.
And so we're back in the lab, and they're each on tables that are at kind of like 45-degree angles or whatnot, and they have this contraption on top of their heads. It is just kind of concluded, the main part of it. So they're powering down. It's like, we got 15 minutes. The doctor said not 1 second, more or less. 15 minutes more with these things in their heads, and then you take the next action. To which the townspeople have arrived, Oz.
Yes, they have.
They have arrived.
And they are at the castle gate. They are using Inspector Kemp as a battering ram at his will. Yeah, and so now it's a race against the clock. Mm-hmm. Can the townspeople stay out of it long enough to finish the transference? And
the clock is ticking down. It's a few seconds away, but they interfere. So they
Yes,
they mess
and-
it up a few seconds before they get to that mark. And they pick up, the townspeople have picked up Frederick. They've picked up Dr. Frankenstein, and he's still out. He's completely out. And then you
Right.
hear a voice we have not heard before, a very articulate voice, yell, "Put that man down."
Very, very articulate.
Yes. And who is it, Oz? Who is this voice?
It's the creature. He now has the brain power of Dr. Frankenstein. He explains very thoroughly what has happened, what's been going on, and it's well translated enough that the townspeople and Inspector Kemp are relaxed about it. Okay, yeah, okay, you're on our side. You're good. And so that it's all good now. The monster's a good guy. And then it almost leads when they fade out that Frankenstein had sacrificed himself for the monster, because at this point he still hadn't come to. So then you kind of wrap up, here with a couple of scenes where we cut to Frankenstein is alive, and he and Inga are now married. She starts to hum the violin song just because she's been hearing it so long, and he kind of gets a little twitch in his eye.
He starts rubbing his temples. Something about this song.
Yeah.
And
it's just throwing him off.
Yeah, and it didn't have that impact on him before. Before we see what happens there, we cut to, I don't know, it's a different. I don't know if it's a different room in the same location or if it's just a
I'm
different
not sure
place,
either.
but it's different room, if not different location. And
Right.
and
He's like,
Elizabeth is again humming the Battle Hymn of the Republic.
yeah.
and the monster, the creature, is in bed with a pair of readers
Reading the
on
paper.
and a Wall
Right.
Street Journal.
Right, yeah. He's an intellectual
Yes.
now. And she's being Elizabeth, and about this party they've got to go to,
And he's just like, yes, dear,
he just seems so bored. He's so bored.
He just wants to read his paper.
It's like his happiness with her was before he was intelligent enough to know how awful of a relationship this is. And so,
She comes out. She was in the other room, probably assumingly brushing her hair because she was singing Battle Hymn of the Republic. That's what she does.
That's what you do.
So she comes out.
That's what I do when I brush my hair.
Exactly. So she comes out and she's full of Bride of Frankenstein. Her hair is completely up. Yeah.
Like beehive, huge beehive. Like she's even the hiss. Like she's good to go.
She
she's
hisses
full on.
and then snorts. And then she kicks her shoes off and she does the thing where like you lick your thumb and then you like put it out on your behind like. I get a feeling that was just full Madeline Kahn too, and that wasn't scripted.
Yeah. But she certainly is. She's full Elsa Lancaster from Bride of Frankenstein. But mixed with that Madeline Kahn of like, keep the cameras rolling, Mel.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep this going.
So the monster breaks the fourth wall, looks at the camera, and kind of like, yep.
It's alive.
and that's the last we see of them in the movie.
Right.
And then we go back for one more scene. We're finishing the scene with Inga and Frederick.
Yes.
And Frederick is now in a full trance. He's just kind of walking with a stumbling purpose towards the bed. Mm-hmm. And Inga wonders aloud, Frederick, the monster got your intelligence. I wonder what you got in the transfer.
What did you get in? Yeah, what did you get in the
Oz,
transfer?
what did he get from the transfer?
Woof. Needless to say, Inga is very happy with what he got in the transfer.
Yes. Yeah, she seems happy about it.
Yeah.
And we cut to Igor playing the French horn on the roof. And the camera pans out on that same matte painting of the castle, and that's it. That's Young Frankenstein.
That's it. That's Young Frankenstein.
Roll credits.
Yeah. Great movie.
Oh, yeah. Such a classic. Comedy classic.
Yes, for sure.
So at this point in the show, Oz and I give our own unique ratings for the film we just watched. Oz, how would you rate Mel Brooks's 1974 Young Frankenstein?
I would rate this 17 horse whinnies.
That's at least how many there were in the movie.
At least, yeah. 17. That's what I give it. How about you? What do you give it?
I'm going to go with 83 hot bowls of soup.
Old Harold's,
Yep,
huh?
Old Harold's. Hot soup to the crotch.
Hot Harold soup. So, all right.
And then we close up by doing the 3, 2, 1. This is where Oz and I share our 3 goods, 2 bads, and 1 huh from the film we just watched. Oz, you want to kick things off with your 3 goods?
Sure. My first good is the plot delivery of the movie. I mentioned, before the show that the last 2 movies we watched, Blazing Saddles and Spaceballs, while amazingly funny movies, they're joke machines. Those movies are driven to be humorous first with a story secondary that just draws the jokes together. Mel Brooks has flipped that script and his comedic homage to Young Frankenstein. And you could tell just the attention to detail, not only the black and white, but with the lighting and the score and the set design and everything. Like, he really wanted to pay it up. As a matter of fact, Gene Wilder was the one that wanted to pay it up because they co-wrote the script. And this was really Gene Wilder's idea of, let's do this. And it was done just brilliantly. And so you take out all the jokes of this movie, and it's still a very effective Frankenstein homage. It just, the plot works well. And then the jokes, they're not too heavy to take away from the storyline. And so it, like you said earlier, it's a lot more chuckles than it is, rib tickling laughter. But I really did like this about this. It has a story to tell, and it tells it well.
And you care about the characters as well.
Yes, absolutely. My second good is the attention to detail. You had mentioned earlier, that they happened to find the man that had all of the original Frankenstein set design or set props. 40 years later, just it feels like a Frankenstein movie. Because it is a Frankenstein movie, and so it they did a great job with that. And my third one is just Inspector Kemp. Marty Feldman is absolutely amazing, but Marty Feldman is a comedic actor. I don't know who Kenneth Mars is, but he nailed this role. And so he just did a wonderful job. Everything he's in was just funny. He was just funny to laugh at. It was just that type of character. And so those are my 3 goods. What about you?
My 3 goods, I'm going to start with Terry Garr as Inga. A character in a performance who could easily be overlooked in this movie. Gene Wilder's the lead. Marty Feldman is kind of a scene stealer. Obviously, the monster is going to draw a lot of attention. And then Madeline Kahn at the time had a little more star power, but she had so much with her performance. It's not quite as over the top as some of the other characters, but she gets just as many funny lines in there, and she delivers them well. And she, I feel like she brings the best out of the other characters. Like she gives Gene Wilder and some of the others just a great landscape on which to give their best performance. So
yeah, she really pulls the room together.
Yeah, nice. So Terry Garr is one. My second, and not that this is necessarily a good thing, but they really play up how well the townspeople, how awful they are. And not that they don't have reason to be concerned based on the past and how the Frankenstein family, the impact of that. However, they jump to conclusions. They don't listen to any kind of reason. They're not willing to help. They're just there to destroy and take down and are very anti-science, which again, we mentioned earlier. I won't rehash that, but an unwillingness to learn or grow or adapt. And my last of my goods would just be the fourth wall breaks. I am a huge fan of a well-placed fourth wall break. We had a plethora of these in Blazing Saddles, and we had some great fourth wall breaks here in The Well. Many provided by either Peter Boyle or Marty Feldman. But the fourth wall, there's the winks at the camera that, yes, we know what we're doing. We know we're an homage. We know we're a parody. Right. But it brings, it turns, the handful of times where you are kind of more guffaw laughing, I think kind of revolve around the fourth wall breaks. Yeah,
for sure.
So,
well put.
Oz, what are your 2 bads?
This is week 3 of being real nitpicky. I honestly, I don't find this movie is as funny as the other 2 we've done because, again, like I mentioned earlier, it's more plot driven. But I definitely think this is the better of the 3 movies we've done in terms of film. I think Mel Brooks, this is definitely, if, you could say this is his masterpiece.
I would agree with that, yeah.
That he just really, everything hit home on this one. So it is tough to find two bad things that you don't like about it. But I'm going to go with one, and we went with that last week as well. Not enough Madeline Kahn.
Yep, you just stole one of mine.
And that's okay. She's a phenomenal comedic actress. Probably the funniest person in every room she's been in. But she still delivers when she's there. And so she didn't write it, she didn't phone it in. She did a great job. My second one, again, nitpicky, is this movie did not lack for runtime. It was a healthy, hour 40, hour 45, something like that. So there was room to trim the fat a little bit. And while I completely 100% understand the scene with the little girl and the scene with Gene Hackman were there as homages to the original Frankenstein movie, they were in this movie, they were just there. In Frankenstein, it was important because nobody had seen that on film yet to establish what type of, I don't want to say person, but what type of entity he was. He was a kind person with unfathomable strength that unfortunately did more harm than good. So he was a tortured soul in the original. But if this is 40 years later, we're watching Young Frankenstein. For this movie to really work on any level, you have to be familiar with the Frankenstein story, etc. So while these two scenes are homages, neither one of them added anything to the movie, because we already knew what type of creature we were dealing with based on the history of Frankenstein. And the fact that this is a comedy, he wasn't going to come out and murder some kid with his bare hands, and really shift the tone. And so that's it. Just that those scenes, while funny, they are both funny, but neither one of them added anything to the aura of the film. So, sorry. How about you?
My two bads. You completely stole one of mine with Madeline Kahn. Again, being super nitpicky. The first act is a little slow getting going. Again, super nitpicky there. It takes a little while to get going, but I mean, you're also getting introduced to the characters and the plot and everything. Right. So it's not anything that dramatically takes away from the movie by any means. And then this is my backup bad. And this is as nitpicky as you could get. The scene where they're towards the end and they're playing the instruments on the roof into the speaker. So Frederick has the violin, and Igor has a horn that he's playing the accompanying music to, and it clearly sounds like a French horn, but it looks just kind of like a little, I don't know, like a battle horn kind of thing.
Right.
Just give him a French horn. Igor's capable. He could pull off a French horn.
Right.
Marty Feldman can handle a French horn.
It's true.
So
that is very, very nitpicky.
That's my other bad. It's making a French horn sound. Give him an actual French horn. All right. That's my other bad. Again, as nitpicky as we could get there.
Right, yeah.
So, Oz, what's your one
my is... this is clearly Frankenstein canon. And, in its own right. Like, all the Frankenstein movies that come before this are canon to this one. Obviously the original, but also the reference, mild reference to the other Frankenstein movies that have come out since the original in 1931. Well, Victor Frankenstein dies at the end of Frankenstein. He goes down in the windmill, or not windmill, but he goes down in the fire. He perishes at the end of Frankenstein. So, how did he have kids? Because he did not have a child, as his fiance was murdered by the monster in Frankenstein. And he dies at the end of the same movie. To our knowledge, he's not impregnated any other woman in the meantime. So, yet his bloodline continues as we're now watching a movie about his grandson. So that's my is when did Victor have a child when he died in the original?
Science is the answer.
Science.
He scienced the child.
Right, as Dr. Malcolm says in Jurassic Park, life finds a way.
Well said. My is simply, how old is Blücher? How old is Frau Blücher?
That's true, because he was her boyfriend.
Exactly. So yeah, she was the girlfriend of Frederick's grandfather. So how old is she, and how old was he when he died? Like,
I love that when she's like, he was my boyfriend.
not like my lover or like my husband.
Right, or I was his mistress, but he was my boyfriend.
She slips back and like a 16-year-old. He was my boyfriend. Oh, Cloris Leachman.
That's a good question. How old
is Frau Blücher?
Right.
I don't know.
So, I don't know. So, all right, that's Young Frankenstein. A little longer than usual, but it's worth it. Not the movie, but also our discussion of said movie. So, but we'll be back next week with another one. We'll tell you here what that will be in just a moment as we wrap up Mel Brooks month. Before we get there, though, just your typical, make sure you like, follow, subscribe, comment, review, all those things that we love for you to do. Obviously, you could watch this on YouTube if you're not already. You could find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I can't imagine people that churn out YouTube videos multiple times a day dropping all this stuff because it is so repetitive. But if you're unfamiliar with how all this stuff works, you can get notifications about what we're doing. But we do appreciate you guys.
If you're that desperate to know when new content comes out from us.
And if this is also your first trip to the internet found you here.
Oh, you're in luck.
Yeah, find a new door. But no, we really appreciate those of you that are listening. And, we'd appreciate it if you tell people because, we enjoy doing this, but we also enjoy knowing other people enjoy it as well. And so we will be back to wrap up Mel Brooks month,
the finale
next week, with a movie I've never seen before,
and I haven't either. As ashamed as I am to say that,
but it's also kind of cool because as film nuts as we are, this is a movie that is known. It's just not of that like upper echelon of super popular ones. But we'll be watching History of the World Part 1 for the first time. And we'll bring you our updates from there. So if you have seen and loved the movie, I'm sure we're going to miss a lot because Mel Brooks movies are definitely better on repeat viewings. But we're going to give it a crack on our first watch and hopefully catch everything we're supposed to catch. So you want to send us out?
Yeah, for Let's Talk About Flicks with Oz and Curtis. I'm Curtis and...
I'm Oz.
It doesn't sound right that way around.
But that's all right.
Yeah.
But we thank you guys for coming, and we'll see you next week.
Take it easy.